At the dawn of ancient urban life, along the floodplains of the Indus River, one of humanity's first great civilizations rose, and then, as mysteriously as it had flourished, it disappeared. The Indus Valley Civilization, also known as the Harappan Civilization, stretched from present-day northeast Afghanistan all the way to northwestern India and eastern Pakistan. It was a society defined by its intricate urban planning, advanced municipal systems, and prosperity. Yet around 1900 BCE, this remarkable civilization began to unravel. Today, archaeologists are still trying to piece together why. The story of the Indus Valley is one of innovation and organization. Cities like Harappa and Mohenjo-daro were not only among the largest of their time anywhere in the world, but they were also among the most sophisticated. Their streets followed meticulous grids, their homes featured private wells and indoor drainage, and their granaries reflected complex state-run food distribution systems. Bathhouses and public reservoirs dotted the cityscapes. Perhaps most fascinating was their script, a collection of mysterious symbols still undeciphered. And their economic reach, with goods traded as far as Mesopotamia. And yet, despite this civilization's achievements, evidence of abrupt and unexplained decline is striking. Around 1900 BCE, the well-laid streets emptied, the great baths fell into disuse, kilns went cold, trade with distant neighbors ceased. By 1300 BCE, the Indus Valley cities were abandoned entirely, their story left buried beneath centuries of alluvial silt. The reasons for this collapse remain one of ancient history's most compelling puzzles. Traditional narratives once attributed the fall of the Indus Valley to invasion, most notably by the so-called Aryans purportedly sweeping down from Central Asia. Early 20th century archaeologists imagined a violent end, pointing to scattered skeletons and collapsed buildings. But today, most researchers dismiss this scenario. The evidence simply doesn't match up. The remains lack trauma consistent with widespread violence, and there is little sign of prolonged conflict or destruction by fire. Instead, attention has shifted to far more complex factors: environmental changes, shifts in trade, and social transformation. Central to the story is the very river system that gave the civilization life. The Indus and its tributaries, vast ancient arteries of water, provided not only sustenance but stability. Recent studies, however, suggest that dramatic shifts in these rivers' courses may have been catastrophic. Around the time of the civilization's decline, geological records point to a weakening of the monsoon climate and, more importantly, to changes in the path of rivers like the Gaga Hakra. Once a mighty perennial stream, it is today little more than a seasonal riverbed. But during the Indus Valley's peak, it likely supported dozens of settlements. As rainfall patterns changed and river courses shifted eastward, vital water supplies dwindled. Crops failed, drought and famine set in. Without the rivers, hard-working fields and bustling trade routes alike faded into silence. Yet environmental instability alone does not explain the scale or pace of the collapse. There is also evidence that as life became more tenuous, the social and economic fabric of the civilization frayed. The grand unifying authority that managed city building and trade may have weakened. Archaeologists see signs of decentralization. Grand public works stop appearing, craft standards decline, and urban populations disperse into smaller villages. In the midst of water shortages and dwindling trade, perhaps people turned away from centralized rule and looked to local survival. Still, even as the urban centers emptied, the Indus script and its finely crafted pottery vanish from the archaeological record with barely a trace. There are no heroic tombs, no boastful inscriptions announcing conquest or calamity, just the quiet disappearance of a culture and its voice. The absence of a clear ending is perhaps what makes the story so perplexing. Where did the people go? Genetic and linguistic traces hint at their survival. Many believe that descendants of Indus Valley communities integrated with Indo-Aryan migrants, blending cultures in what would become the foundation of later Indian civilization. The civilization did not end with a cataclysmic bang, but rather dissolved, absorbed into the rhythm of a changing landscape. Centuries later, when the ruins of Harappa and Mohenjo-daro were rediscovered, they reignited interest in the mysteries of the ancient world. The Indus Valley Civilization represents one of history's great enigmas. Despite centuries of research, we are left with more questions than answers, each excavation turning up silent clues. Beads, seals, crumbling bricks, reminders of a sophisticated society undone not by war, but by the subtle, relentless changes of nature. What ultimately caused the disappearance of the Indus Valley Civilization? Was it merely the drying up of rivers, the breaking of ancient trade networks, an erosion of shared purpose, or something yet unforeseen? As long as the script remains undeciphered and the cities lie partially buried, the full story remains out of reach, a vivid chapter of human history, lost but never forgotten.